Malia refused all the average rich suitors that came to ask for her hand in marriage. Some had cars, some had small businesses, but she said none of them were rich enough for her. She wanted a man with real money, someone who could change her life completely. One day, her best friend Rita came to visit her. She looked at Malia and shook her head. "Malia," she said gently, "you keep sending away young men who want to marry you. One day, you will grow older and there won't be any young suitor left. Then you will be the one looking for someone to marry, but no one will come." Malia laughed and waved her hand. "Rita, I don't care if the man is young or old. I just want someone who is rich. I am tired of this poverty. I want to marry a man who can remove suffering from my life." Rita sighed. "But money is not everything, Malia. What if you find someone rich but he doesn't love you?" "I don't care about love either," Malia replied boldly. "Love cannot feed me. Let me marry a rich man first, I will find love later." Rita looked at her friend sadly. Deep inside, she hoped Malia would not regret her choice one day. Soon, the whole village began talking about Malia. People whispered in corners and shared stories at the market. They said she had rejected all the average rich young men who came to ask for her hand in marriage. "She's too greedy," some said. "She only wants the richest man in the world." Some villagers grew to dislike her because of this. They said she was proud and thought too highly of herself. But there were also young girls in the village who secretly wished they had Malia's beauty. They admired her smooth skin, her bright eyes, and the way she walked with confidence, but Malia didn't care about what anyone said. She keeps on taking care of herself. Every day, she dressed neatly, applied her favorite perfume, and brushed her long hair until it shined. "I don't care if he's old or young," she would often say. "All I want is money, not love." And so, while the village watched, judged, and talked, Malia waited, still hoping that one day, her beauty would bring her the richest man in the world. Malia's mother would often come into her bedroom and sit beside her. She would speak to her gently, like a mother should. "My daughter," she would say, "please think about getting married. Most of your friends are already married. You keep waiting for the richest man, but what if he never comes?" She would sigh and hold Malia's hand. "I married your father because of love, not because of money. And we lived a peaceful life until he died." But Malia would only shake her head slowly and reply, "And that's why we ended up in poverty, Mama." Her mother's eyes would fill with tears, but Malia would just look away, still believing that money was all she needed to be happy. Her mother turned her back and used the edge of her wrapper to wipe away some tears. Then she spoke softly again, "Malia, my daughter, money is not everything. The more you wait, the more your beauty fades. One day, I hope to carry my grandchildren in my arms, just like other mothers do." But Malia only smiled and said, "Mama, my beauty will never fade. And to me, money is everything." Then she added, "In fact, you're disturbing me." Her mother turned slowly and looked at her, shocked. She never expected her own daughter to say such a thing. Her heart felt heavy, but she stood up quietly and left the room, without another word. Her mother returned to her own bedroom and closed the door behind her. As soon as she sat on her bed, she broke down in tears. "How did I raise my only child to become like this?" she cried softly to herself. "Where did I go wrong?" She held her chest and looked up at the ceiling with tears falling from her eyes. "I gave her everything I could. I worked hard to provide for her, to make sure she lacked nothing. Was it wrong to care for her so much as my only daughter and child?" She wiped her face and knelt beside her bed. Dear God, she prayed, please grant her heart's desires. Let her find the man she's looking for. Let her marry before it's too late, before she becomes old. Please, Lord, help her. Her voice was low and full of pain, and the room was filled with silence except for the sound of her quiet sobs. Life goes on in the village, as usual. Malia was just parading her beauty down the dusty path. As she walked past the market square, a black, shining Mercedes-Benz rolled slowly by, catching everyone's attention. The car stopped, and out came a young man, tall and handsome, dressed neatly in a designer shirt and fine shoes. He saw Malia and couldn't take his eyes off her. He smiled and walked towards her. Hello, he greeted politely. I'm new around here. I came to find a good wife for my father, but I don't know anyone in this village. Can you help me? Malia paused and looked him up and down. With a playful smile, she asked, how financially stable is your father? Because no lady wants to suffer these days. The young man chuckled softly. Our family has been rich for generations. We own lands, houses, and businesses in the city. My father is just lonely and wants someone with a good heart. Malia raised her brow slightly and crossed her arms. So, you're saying your father is rich and single? He nodded. Very rich. But he's old-fashioned. He wants a village woman, someone respectful and well-mannered. Malia smiled again, this time a little slower. Maybe I can help. Or maybe I might even be the one you're looking for. The young man laughed. He looked at Malia closely and shook his head with a little smile. No, no, he said, you are too young and too beautiful to marry my father. Besides, he is a crippled man. He can't even walk anymore. You are too fresh for such a relationship. Malia burst into laughter, holding her waist and shaking her head. Forget about his age and health condition, she said boldly. As long as the money is there, I can marry him. What matters most is comfort. Love can come later. The young man stood speechless. His mouth was slightly open, and his eyes wide in shock. He didn't even know what else to say. He looked at Malia again and wondered how such a beautiful, young lady would choose to be in a marriage with an old, crippled man just because of money. He scratched his head and thought to himself, is this how village girls reason these days? He was confused and somehow even a little scared of what he just heard. Malia pointed at a house and told the young man, that is my mother's house. If you are serious, go over there with your father and pay my bride price, she said and left. The young man stood there, confused and dumped. He didn't know whether to continue the journey or even go back. His heart was beating fast. He looked at the house, then looked back the way he came. He asked himself, was she serious? Was that a test? Should I really go and meet her mother? Malia returned home that day and told her mother what happened. Her mother was shocked and asked her, how are you going to enjoy marriage with a crippled old man who is old enough to be your father? Malia looked at her and said, I don't care, as long as the money is there. Her mother shook her head and asked again, don't you want to enjoy your sex life? You know that old man can't do it well. Malia smiled and replied, I can get sex outside and enjoy the money inside. Her mother broke down in tears. Don't do this, she begged. You will live to regret it. But Malia didn't care. Soon, the news spread like wildfire across the village. Malia is about to marry an old crippled man. Everyone was talking about it. Some shook their heads in disbelief, asking, what kind of human is Malia? How could she do such a thing? Others pitied her poor mother, saying, "Ah, that woman raised such a wicked child. What a shame." People gossiped in the market, at the stream, and even in church. "She sold herself for money," they whispered. "She wants to marry that old man just because he's rich." Not long after the wedding, Malia left the village and moved to the city with her husband, the well-known billionaire, Chief Philip. He was old, gray-haired, and sat in a wheelchair. But his name alone opened doors. In the city, Malia began a new life, far away from the judging eyes of her village. And Malia? She was happy. Truly happy. She looked around at her big house, wore fancy clothes, and smiled. At last, she thought, I married for money, not love, and I have no regrets. On their first morning in the city, Chief Philip surprised Malia with a big gift. He handed her a brand new car key with a smile on his face. "Welcome to your new life, my dear," he said gently, but that wasn't all. He also gave her full access to his bank account, his properties, and everything he owned. Malia could hardly believe it. "All this? For me?" she asked, shocked. Chief Philip nodded. "Yes. I never thought a young and beautiful girl like you would agree to marry a man like me. I know I'm old and not strong anymore. But you chose me. I will give you everything." Malia's eyes sparkled with joy. He made sure she never lacked anything. He hired workers to take care of the house, cleaners, cooks, gardeners, everything was done for her. Malia didn't need to lift a finger. Whatever she wanted, Chief Philip provided. Clothes, jewelry, trips, anything. Malia smiled to herself every day. This is the life, she thought. I made the right choice. One afternoon, Malia sat alone in the big sitting room. The house was quiet, and the only sound was the ticking of the wall clock. She sat back in the soft leather chair, crossed her legs, and laughed wickedly to herself. "This old fool," she said under her breath. "He calls himself my husband. What a joke. A 2-minute man who doesn't even know how to touch a woman properly." She shook her head in disgust. "All he does is give me money and sit in that wheelchair. He's useless to me now." Her eyes grew cold. "I can't live like this forever. I have to be smart." She began to make a plan in her mind. "First, I'll make him write everything in my name, the houses, the cars, the money. All of it. Once that's done, I'll kill him and run away with everything." She smiled to herself, feeling proud of the evil plan, but that wasn't all. She also thought of another thing. What if I get pregnant for him? She frowned. No, I can't let that happen. A child will only tie me down. So, she made up her mind to secretly protect herself. I'll take pills, anything. But I must not carry his child. Malia's heart was filled with greed and wickedness. Her mind was set. She was ready to do anything to get the life she wanted. After that day, Malia started begging and persuading her husband, Chief Philip, to will everything he owned to her name. She sat beside him, held his hand, and spoke softly. "Please, my love," she said, "you know I've been here for you. You're the only one I have. I want to feel secure. Just will everything to me." Chief Philip looked at her and shook his head slowly. "Malia," he said, "I will do that only if you get pregnant. If you give me a child, I will part of my property to you and some to the unborn child." Malia gave a small smile, hiding her disappointment. She nodded, pretending to understand, but inside, she was already thinking about what next to do. Then she asked him, What about the companies you gave to your late wife's children? Can't you connect them back to your name and will them to me instead? Chief Philip sat up straight and said firmly, No, Malia. Those children are also mine, and I will not take anything back from them. You still have many properties from me. If you carry my child, I will make sure that child also has enough. But I won't bother my other children for your sake. Malia forced another smile, but deep inside, she knew she had more work to do if she wanted it all. Malia walked into the kitchen, her face full of anger. She began talking to herself in a low, bitter voice. That old fool thinks he's smart, she said. So he really wants me to bear a child before he gives me everything? Never. She paced around the kitchen, her hands on her hips, thinking deeply. After everything I've done for him, he still wants to tie me down with a child? Never. I'm not going to let that happen. She stood still for a moment, then an idea came to her. A sly smile slowly spread across her face. I'll pretend to be pregnant, she whispered. Yes. I'll act like I'm carrying his child. That way, he'll will everything to me. Once everything is in my name, I'll ask for a divorce. Let him keep his fake love. She let out a small laugh and nodded to herself. The plan had started forming clearly in her mind. This time, she said, I'll be the smart one. 3 months later, Malia came up with a plan. She decided to pretend that she was pregnant. One evening, she sat beside Chief Philip, her husband, and gently held his hand. Chief, she said softly, I have some wonderful news. I'm pregnant. Chief Philip's eyes lit up with joy. He lifted his hand and shouted, Thank you, God. This is the best news of my life. He called the servants and told them to prepare a big meal to celebrate. That night, he sang and smiled more than he had in years. 2 days later, Malia sat with Chief Philip again. My love, she said sweetly, now that I am carrying your child, I think it would be wise if you put everything you own in my name, just in case anything happens to you. It's for the good of our future child. Chief Philip paused. He looked at her kindly but said, Malia, I trust you, but we must wait. Let your belly grow and the pregnancy become visible. Once it does, I promise I'll will everything to you. Malia smiled and nodded. I understand, my dear, she replied, but deep inside, she was not happy. Her smile was fake. She was angry that her plan didn't work right away. Still, she kept pretending to be loving and cheerful, hiding her true feelings. That night, Malia sat alone in her bedroom. The room was quiet. She looked at herself in the mirror and began to talk to herself. So, this man thinks he has sense, she said quietly. He thinks he is smart and brave by telling me to wait until my stomach grows. He really believes he can outsmart me. She frowned and shook her head. He doesn't know who he's dealing with. Malia began to think hard. I must find a way to make sure he never finds out that I'm faking this pregnancy. If he ever finds out the truth, everything will be ruined. She sat still for a while, then suddenly smiled. An idea had come to her. I know what to do, she said. I'll buy a pregnancy tube and use it to save myself. I'll make sure it shows real. She laughed softly to herself and leaned back on her chair. That will keep him calm, at least for now. That same night, Chief Philip was lying down on his bed, staring at the ceiling. The lights were off, but sleep would not come. His mind was filled with many thoughts. What does that young lady really want? He asked himself quietly. I've given her everything a woman needs in marriage, money, cars, clothes, everything. Yet, she still wants more. Does she think I'm a fool? He said. Does she think I don't know what she's doing? He paused and shook his head slowly. I knew this would happen one day. A beautiful young girl like her agreeing to marry an old man like me? There must be a reason behind it. It's not love. No, it's money she wants, not love. I have to be careful, he said softly. This girl is desperate. If I'm not careful, she might even try to kill me just to get everything she wants. He turned on his side, still deep in thought, and whispered to himself, I must stay one step ahead of her. 6 months passed, and Malia continued to fake her pregnancy. She started wearing padded clothes and using wraps to make her stomach look big. One morning, she went happily to her husband. Her face was full of smiles. My love, she said sweetly, look at my stomach. It has grown so well. Our baby is coming soon. Chief Philip looked at her stomach and smiled. Yes, it's true. I can see it now. Then Malia held his hand gently and said, please, now is the time. Just like you promised, will everything in my name. For the sake of our baby, Chief Philip nodded. You are right, my dear. A promise is a promise. He called his lawyer the next day. They sat together in the sitting room. And the lawyer brought out all the papers. Chief Philip signed everything and willed all his property, his houses, cars, land, and money, to Malia's name. Malia was so happy. As she held the signed documents, her heart danced with joy. My plan has finally worked, she said to herself. Everything is mine now. 1 month later, Malia woke up one morning and sat beside Chief Philip, crying. My love, she said in tears, I lost the baby. I had a miscarriage. She wept bitterly, holding her stomach and pretending to be in pain. Chief Philip was shocked and quickly pulled her close. Don't cry, my dear, he said softly. It is not your fault. Another one will come. Just rest and take care of yourself. He held her in his arms, comforting her, but deep down, Malia was not sad at all. She knew exactly what she was doing. Everything was part of her plan. After getting everything she ever wanted in life, Malia started to change. She became proud and rude. She no longer respected Chief Philip. She would insult him in front of people, calling him all sorts of names. Sometimes, she even accused him of killing her unborn child. Chief Philip would only smile when she shouted. He would quietly say, Don't shout, Malia. I knew this day would surely come. Then one morning, Malia woke up early. She looked calm but serious. She went to Chief Philip and handed him a divorce papers. He was shocked. Malia, please don't do this, he begged. We can fix this. Don't end our marriage like this. But Malia shook her head. I've made up my mind. I'm done with this marriage, she said coldly and walked away, leaving Chief Philip heartbroken. Malia walked into her bedroom and started packing her bags. She folded her clothes neatly and zipped up her suitcases. She was ready to go. Chief Philip, sitting in his wheelchair, rolled slowly to the sitting room where Malia was now standing. He looked at her with sad eyes and said, Please, Malia. Don't go. We can still fix things. But Malia didn't even look at him. She crossed her arms and said, Please, just sign the divorce papers quickly. I don't have time. Chief Philip looked down for a moment, then raised his head and asked, What about the wills I signed in your name? What happens to them? Malia laughed wickedly and said, Oh, that? That's my gain in this marriage. You gave it to me, and now it's mine. Chief Philip only smiled, a calm and strange smile, as he looked at her. Chief Philip looked at Malia and said, Wait patiently. Let me call my lawyer so we can sign the divorce papers properly. Malia smiled proudly. She thought to herself, finally, I've succeeded. Not long after, Chief Philip's lawyer arrived at the house. The divorce papers were brought out and signed peacefully. There was no argument. Everything went smoothly. Malia beamed with joy. She picked up her bags, ready to leave the house for good. But just as she was walking out, Chief Philip called her back in a calm voice. Malia, wait, he said. Malia turned around when Chief Philip called her. He looked at her and said, before you leave, I want to tell you something important. Never use those papers I wrote the wills in your name. They are all fake. Malia's eyes widened in shock. What? She said, confused and surprised. Chief Philip nodded slowly. Yes, you heard me. Those wills mean nothing. I never gave you anything for real. Malia stood frozen, not believing what she just heard. You are old enough to be my daughter, Chief Philip continued. And I treated you like one. But all you ever wanted was money. That's all you cared about. He looked at her with deep sadness. I also knew you faked your pregnancy just to make me will my property to you, he said. Malia's mouth dropped open, but she had nothing to say. Chief Philip shook his head and said, that's why I also faked the will papers. You think you are wise? If I were as foolish as you are, I wouldn't have made the kind of money I made today. Tears flowed freely from Malia's eyes. She could not believe what she was hearing. Everything she had planned had failed. Chief Philip then said, now, return everything I gave you after our marriage. The car, the clothes, the jewelry, everything. One by one, everything was taken from her. Malia was left with nothing. She stood there in shame, wearing only a simple dress. Then the guards pushed her out of the house. She had no choice but to leave. With tears and shame, Malia returned to her village. Her hair was rough, and her clothes were dirty. She looked like a mad woman. The villagers gathered and began to laugh at her. See her. The proud city woman. She thought she was wise. She chased money and lost everything. They called her all sorts of names. Malia could not raise her head. She went back to her mother's house in shame. Years passed. Malia grew old in her mother's house. Even though she was still beautiful, no man wanted to marry her. Whenever someone heard her story, they stayed far away. That was how Malia's life turned out, lonely, full of regret, and without love.